Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Astro Coach Amy. I'm so happy you're here with me. If it's your first time or you're a returning guest, I'm so happy to have you with us today. And my friend and mentor, Roland Takioka, is here with us also. Thank you, Roland. And I want to wish everyone a happy fall equinox, or if you happen to live down under, this would be your happy spring equinox. And we're going to be talking about what is the fall equinox. Forgive me, those of you down under, we can look at the spring equinox also, maybe next time. But what's really important about this is equinox really means equal and balance. And twice a year, the sun does cross the equator. It's a very important time, and this is one of those times. And it was early this morning, I believe it was 7:21 out here in the West Coast, that the time occurred. And what's important about it for most of us is, especially those of us in the northern regions, that we're beginning fall. And of course, down the southern regions, they're finished with winter, fortunately, and they're ready to go into spring. And I'm sure they're happy about that. But in the spiritual sense, this is a time of transition. That's what the equinox is as well. It's also considered a global transition. And for those of you that are engaged in different kinds of communities, there are many groups of people that drum. They do special things to welcome this in the evening, maybe something early in the morning. And of course, the ancients were so tuned in with the heavens and with the earth that this was a very sacred, important time to them. And what's special about the equinox, it's also in some ways a quiet time of balance. And even though of course it's physically past, but if there's even a way today for 5 or 10 minutes that you could take that time to recognize we are shifting in really to the final quarter of 2016, which is very significant. What do you want to accomplish? Who do you want to be as you complete the end of this year and feel that you've been able to make a difference or been able to improve yourself? So even if that means 10-minute walk, even if that means maybe a 10-minute bath or shower, or a few minutes that you can sit and reflect, this is a very powerful and valuable time of the year, both the spring and the fall equinox, depending on which part of the planet you live in. This is a really valuable time for you to use these energies to tune in. I know for a lot of us, it's easy to be driven outwardly. Oh my gosh, it's almost time for Halloween. Then it's Thanksgiving, then it's Christmas. And that's how a lot of us view the end of the year. So let's look at some other ways that we can think in this way. Of course, the elections are on everyone's mind. And of course, if we focus on the news, we might not want to get out of bed because some days it's pretty dismal. So that's my interest in this show. I've gotten some great comments, which I appreciate, and I really look forward to your questions. Now, one of the things that Roland and I were talking about before the show, and I'm seeing if maybe later he'll ask us a question or have a comment for me. But one of the things that's important to look at is the more modern times, let's say less than 2,000 years ago, when Hipparchus, Ptolemy, some of those scientists, if you will, created popular astrology. It was based on the seasons. So if we all lived together at that time, 18 or 1900 years ago, today would actually be 0 degrees Libra, which of course is considered the first day of fall. For those of us that have been following Western sidereal astrology, and you're welcome to tune into the show I did about what is Western sidereal astrology. But the short story is It was the original way that the ancients in Babylon, and the Indians have used it for many years in the East, was the original way that we looked at the constellations and the fixed stars and watched the heavenly bodies move. So it's considered that fixed frame of reference. But when Ptolemy, Hipparchus, these scientists came, they said, oh no, everything's based on the seasons. So for those of you that have followed tropical astrology, they would say this is 0 degrees. This is the beginning of Libra and the beginning of fall. But for those of us that are really looking at what's in the actual heavens right now, that's not the case. So here we are. It's the fall equinox, and actually today the sun's in Virgo. That's really where it is in the heavens. So it's a little dilemma, isn't it, Roland? We were looking at this. He's shaking his head yes. We're going to see. Do you have any comment for me before I go on?
No, it's just so much to wrap my brain around from the standpoint of, I mean, I can understand when the none of the stars and planets in the heavens stand still. It's what makes some logical sense that everything is moving and might have to adjust. But when it comes to astrology, so many of us are geared towards the people who say, your birthday is this, so your sign is that, and I could tell you this. And it seems so black and white when everything is in motion, but life is in motion. So that, to me, that makes total sense. It sounds like this is more of a living, breathing astrology than the traditional.
Yes, and that is thank you. That is a really great way to look at this. The idea of the show is by no means that you have to be a brilliant astrologer. I'm really interested in knowing what kinds of things puzzle you. Is it your health today? Do you want a better relationship? How can you make more money? These are the basic questions that everyone asks their astrologer. And my interest in even looking at the fall equinox is almost like I see this as a day of pause, not to not live your life, but to say, wow, how have I done these last 9 months? Have I changed in ways I've wanted to? Have I done some of the things I'd wanted to do? What's been in my way? Do I need to improve my health? How's my attitude? Am I being positive about things? And this is really a valuable time of that transition and turning point. It definitely is a little bit confusing to those of us that are used to being told certain things. Now, the sun and moon aren't really interested in tropical or Western sidereal last time I checked. They're very much in tune, and they always will be. But we as mortals down here on Earth, we're the ones that have to work on this a little bit more. So honestly, I am with Roland. I am not fixed that because your moon or your sun is here, that the idea is not for us to predict your outcome or tell us that you shouldn't get up and make your best effort, but rather, very much like Roland said, as someone who's very much interested in the theater arts, I think life is very much in motion all the time. The question is, how can you use the energies in that chart in the best way? And as I talked about in one of the shows about this really being your divine GPS, that's really my primary interest. How can you use it to really receive that best divine inspiration so you can be your greatest self each day? And for most of us, that is the $100,000 question. So today, if we think about this being the equinox, regardless of whether you believe it's the first day of fall, the truth is, it is the day the sun crossed the equator. It is the day that everything changes and the time is equal. A lot of us have a little excitement thinking that this election is coming up very close. I know for a lot of people, it's making them pretty nervous. And we've seen some pretty frightening things in the headlines this last couple of weeks, and we can't pretend that. So we're not denying that that's happening. But one of the things Roland and I have just discussed right before the show is the idea of who can you be today that can show up as being that bright, positive person who can make a difference in your circumstance today. That's one of the big questions for today. Whether that's at your office, whether it's with your neighbor, whether it's with your family, how can you use these energies today of greater balance to slow down a little bit to have a better connection? And I know for some of us, right now I live in a big metropolitan area in Southern California. And it's not like when I used to live in a small rural area in the Bay Area where there's a lot of nature and all kinds of groups doing interesting things. I have to be open to create my own solstice, my equinox today. How can I do that? So I told Roland I'm going to go down after we do our show and hug one of the trees in my apartment complex that I like to say hi to. But even though it sounds silly, truthfully, one of the most important things you can do today and even this week, what are ways that you can have contact with the natural world so that you have a sense of being connected? Another way is you can get one of those free star apps, quite honest, on your phone or one of your tablets, and you can look at the heavens and see what's going on up there. Influences are powerful, and they really don't care what we're thinking. But if we can tune in and use them, I think that is one of our greatest keys to a successful and joyful day, and can really allow us to be of greater service each day, regardless of what the newspaper wants to tell us. Any other thoughts that you might have, Roland, on all this right now?
That covers it pretty well, and just to make it known that things are not what they seem, and to take the easy way out and just read some pamphlet on the various star signs is not enough. You have to have a little bit of an analysis and understand what's going on with the movement of the stars.
Yes, and that's well said. But as you said, because we're living and breathing all the time, what's interesting is even though that pattern was set when we were born, we're changing, we're growing. And the good news is we're using those energies differently all the time. So I do want to invite you, while my website is currently under construction, the new one, is if you're curious what sign you might be in Western Sidereal Astrology, because it is going to be about 24 degrees off from where you're, if you will, what's probably in the internet that you read every day, you are welcome to email or text me anytime, and I will be happy to send you a free handout that I've made about what sign, how the signs correlate depending on your birthday with Western Sidereal. And that would be something fun that you could see. You can do whatever you like with that, but it would give you a way to just get a different picture. But one of the things we're going to talk about in different shows that's fun and interesting is the idea that as a person, depending on which astrologer you talk to, there are 10 planets in your chart. Some are going to say more. And Western people, and in Indian Vedic, they may not look at those outer planets. They might only say there's 7. But the point is those influences do make a big difference in your life. So we don't want to judge everything about who you are and how you feel and how you look and what kind of work you should do based on that one sign on the internet, because it's only 1/10 of who you are. And that's why over time, I look forward to having some interesting discussions. We're going to have some other people on, and we may be looking at a few charts. So you have a better sense. Even if you don't study astrology, you can still get a little better sense of who you are and how you can use your energies to be happier, healthier, wealthier, how you can really be more of yourself. And that's part of my interest in working as an astrologer and a life coach, is really to give you those tools so like Roland said, when life throws you that curveball, you can rely on some of your other skills and talents. And hopefully your attitude of gratitude to surf those waves. Because there's always going to be those waves when it goes up and it goes down. And the question is, how can we use what you've been given to really make it a happier life for you? So I think today is just going to be a little bit shorter show. So that way you can have a little bit more time to enjoy and find a way to celebrate this fall equinox, depending on where you are in the world, or that might be the spring equinox if you're down under. And I really look forward to your getting in touch. Right now, you're welcome to do that on my YouTube page, my email, which is amy@astrocoachamy.com. And you're welcome to text me on my cell phone if you like. And my number is up there. And then soon I'll have a website that you can also go up to and get more information. So thanks for being here with us today. We wish you a wonderful fall equinox, and we're excited to be with you in future shows. Have a great day.